Hello, everybody, and welcome to EDF Sports Podcast, another edition. This week, we have Liam back up there in the corner with that Sixers hat and jersey on today. I love it. I can only assume that's for Embiid, but signing the big deal. Oh, look at there. Okay. We got Lamar down there. Lamar looks very interested in us today. I think he thinks we're nuts sometimes, but how you doing, Lamar?
Pretty good.
How you doing, Liam?
Pretty good. How we doing?
Oh, not too bad, man. We had football, NFL. And yes, we had the Super Bowl champions for this year, Denver Broncos, took the field this week for their first game.
Oh, brother.
I just had to get you going. All right. So let's talk some football, though. I mean, we did have summer league, but that's come and gone. We got us a little time in between there and basketball. So let's hit football, man. I'm in the football fever. I've got it in the blood. What's that, Liam?
I said I can't wait. I'm so excited for football that matters. I'm tired of the preseason, except I do like watching the rookie quarterbacks during the preseason, just see what they look like. But I'm ready for these games to count.
Yeah, no doubt. And since you brought that up, I mean, that's true. This class, which I wasn't exactly high on myself beforehand, but that shows why I don't, one of many reasons why I don't do any of those jobs that matter in football, right? But this class turns out to look like they are looking really, really, really good. I mean, those five quarterbacks that we all want to talk about, that we all know about, those top five, Wilson, Jones, Fields, Lawrence, Lance, they look good. Even the worst of them all, who was the number one pick, he still looked good, and I'll get into my reasons why I thought it was. But Liam, tell me what you thought of these quarterbacks.
I think this has a chance to be the best quarterback class of all time. And, I say that. You can really say that every year with the way the new talent comes out. But if you think of, just since the turn of the century, like the really high-profile quarterback classes, you come down to, can this quarterback class compete with 2004, which was Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger? I think this class can easily outcompete the 2016 class of Goff, Wentz, and Dak. And then it comes down to, can they outcompete 2017, which is Trubisky, Watson, and Mahomes. Well, Mahomes might be the best quarterback in football for the next 15 years. He might be the best quarterback who ever lived. But five guys who play at a seriously high level, even if none of them are as good as Mahomes, as a total class, they can do better than what Mahomes and Watson can do. And we still don't know what Watson's going to do moving forward with his legal issues. So this quarterback class, it's so exciting to think about the possibilities, because Trevor Lawrence is this, the most highly touted prospect since Andrew Luck. And if you want to go before that, he's the most highly touted prospect since Peyton Manning. It's the fourth quarterback taken. I don't know if that is a dock on him or just a really, really good note on both Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. The fact that they were so talented that they were able to eclipse Justin Fields, who played at a winning program like Ohio State, a team that was in national championship contention. And then you have Mac Jones, who was the national champion, the fifth quarterback taken, and he's going to Belichick. So while he might not be the athlete that the other four are from just a raw athletic perspective, his intangibles and his pinpoint accuracy, his Drew Brees-esque accuracy with the football, it works perfectly with what Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick can conjure up. There's reason to be excited about all five of these quarterbacks. And it's just going to be really fun to watch them all grow over the next couple of years and see where things end up.
I agree. Lamar, which one of those five right there did you see having the best first game?
I like what Fields did, especially in the second. Struggled in the first half, came back in the second half once the Bears adjusted a little bit, got him inside the pocket, let him lose his legs, start making plays and getting the ball downfield and moving the offense some. But four out of the five quarterbacks are all athletic, so that'll help them out, other than Mac Jones and New England. But they all went to, I think, pretty good teams that's going to use their skill sets so they can succeed.
Yeah. It's kind of like he just said though too. With Jones, he went to the perfect
Yeah,
system for who he is. So I mean, it like that didn't hurt at all. It still
yeah,
made it like a perfect thing. And I agree with you on Fields. He not just him though. Here's the thing for me. What I saw with all of these guys, and I tried to watch every one of them this week, was the fact that the moment wasn't too big for none of them. None of them. None of them. And it seems like we saw that in the NBA with those rookies and those young guys doing what they did in the playoffs. We're seeing that now in the NFL. This is a couple years because the receivers have been doing this for a couple of years now. Um, what is it with these young guys, man? It's crazy how the moments just aren't big anymore for anybody.
I don't think the moment has to be big anymore. I think that these young kids are groomed so much from the time that they're so young. Of if you stay on this trajectory, then you're going to get,
Good point.
you're going to get to the pros. And another thing, if you think about the five quarterbacks, only two of them really should be in contention for the playoffs or more, and that's Trey Lance and Mac Jones. Two of the quarterbacks we don't even know are going to really be starting, or when they'll be starting, I should say. There's two surefire locks to start, and that's Lawrence and Wilson, right? But,
Right.
but Lance is behind Garoppolo, and
You
Fields
don't
is
buy
behind.
that quarterback thing in Jacksonville, then, huh? There's no competition
no, ain't
there.
no competition out there.
Yeah, we can talk. We can talk about that later. Uh, I don't buy a second of that.
No, I get you.
Fields
But
is
you're
behind
right.
Dalton, and Jones is behind Cam, right?
Right.
So we don't know when Jones and when Fields and when Lance are going to be when they're going to be playing, because they all expect to contend for at least playoff spots, if not more, with the veteran quarterbacks that they have now.
True.
So I think, especially for Wilson and Lawrence, who get the keys from week one, there's not a lot of pressure on them to succeed, at least this year. There's the willingness and wanting for them to get their feet wet, experience it, see how they can read defenses, and build moving forward. But there's no pressure on them to win this year, because the Jets and the Jaguars don't have Super Bowl aspirations. The Bears and the Patriots shouldn't either. Maybe the
Right.
49ers, but the Bears and Patriots should worry about be developing their quarterbacks too. And you can do that on the sidelines, but I think the best way to do it's in game action.
Yeah.
I guess unless you're Patrick Mahomes, or Aaron Rodgers, who can sit behind the quarterback and still be a generational talent.
Right.
So I don't think they need to be afraid coming into the league anymore. I think they know the tasks at hand. And just to use the Bears as an example, why not start Justin Fields week one? Oh, you don't want him to play the Rams? You don't want him to see Aaron Donald in his first NFL game? Why? He's going to see Aaron Donald at some point. You guys are both in the NFC. You're going to cross paths a lot of times throughout your career. Yeah. So just play him. He's better than Andy Dalton, and he gives you a better premium on winning currently, if that's what you want to do. You don't need to sit him behind and just groom him up. You can let him go groom himself on the field.
Right. So Lamar, if I was to tell you, out of the five that played and got in the games, and although Lawrence only got 15 snaps, so that's kind of a leaving us about half of what any of the others got. But who would you say had the best numbers out of all five of those? If you just had to guess right now, from what you've seen, who would you think had the best numbers for the weekend, Lamar?
I would say Fields. I didn't really catch too much of the Zach Wilson game. Had a lot going on this weekend, but I watched the whole Bears game, and Fields showed me a lot. Coming off struggling, and came in, turned it in a good performance in the second half, because that's what it's going to be. These quarterbacks going to struggle at some point in their rookie season. Yeah. It's going to be if they can overcome it or not. Because these teams going. That first preseason game ain't really no game planning going on. They're just calling defense. When they start game planning for you and breaking down your weaknesses and see what you're going to do best, that's when you're going to learn about these quarterbacks, not no week one of the preseason. I mean, it's just basically pitch and catch.
True. Would it surprise either of you, though, if it was Zach Wilson?
No.
Because he had, and now I'm gonna go by PFF numbers, which I kind of rely on a lot, so I'm going by their numbers. But they have him as the best with the best rating, the best numbers. And not only that, and I want you guys to tell me this, he's got the best release time. Now, do you find that to be a real importance for a quarterback?
When you say release time, does it mean by windup or does it mean post snap?
I believe it's post snap.
That tells me that his offensive line was breaking down and they needed to make quick reads and get the ball out quick. And you know what? That's a sign of him learning, because when he was in college, he was, kind of like he was a gunslinger, create plays for yourself type of quarterback. He's a risk taker by nature. He likes to extend plays. He kind of reminds you of, Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers in that aspect that, or Russell Wilson in that aspect that, like, if, the pocket breaks down, he's going to step up, get out. And he's not really looking to, run for the first down. He's looking to extend the passing play as long as he can.
Right. And he's got a gun.
Telling me that he was getting the ball out quick, maybe because the pocket's breaking down, or maybe because that's the scheme that was set up for him.
Right.
But I thought I saw that, Mac Jones was getting the ball out pretty quick too. But that's
he was actually number 2. Yeah.
And that's the Patriot system. So
right.
If this is what the Jets should be prioritizing Zach Wilson's health and Zach Wilson's growth, right? So the best way to do that is for him to get the ball out quick, because then defenders are going to be breathing on his neck.
Well, see, I asked that question because of what Lamar had said too. I watched that Chicago game, and to me, if I'm going by what I would call the eye test, what a lot of people want to say, the eye test, he looked really good. I mean, he looked like probably the best one out of the 5 that I watched. But yet his numbers put him at 3rd. So that's why I asked, how important is that to you? Because when you look at the way he got away, the way he extended plays, the way he started to break that down in that second half, he looked really good.
When you get the ball out quick, you're gonna get high completion percentage. That's what it's designed to do. You hike and 3-step drops and throwing them short passes, you're gonna get a high completion percentage. That's what the Raiders do with Carr. That's why completion percentage is through the roof. Get the ball out quick. The Jets ain't got the strongest offensive line, so they got to play it smart.
I don't know if they have a line, do they?
Yeah, so they got to play it smart.
Yeah, they're kind of really depleted in that section right there. What do you guys think? Like Liam, you said earlier, you don't believe there's going to be a few of them that are starting at the beginning of the season, and I'm with you on that, only because I think it's dumb, because they're doing you have to do this or whatever. But out of let's say Trey Lance and Justin Fields, because I actually think Jones is going to come in. That's Belichick's thing. I don't think he's going to do that, but I think in Frisco you have a real battle starting, and they got a couple of good quarterbacks. So I mean, which one do you see coming in the earliest, Fields or Lance?
I would say, excuse me. I would say Justin Fields, only because I think that Jimmy Garoppolo, if he stays healthy, is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton. And I think the public pressure in Chicago specifically as a city is going to be so severe. They've never had a quarterback prospect like Justin Fields. The last time that they had an all-pro quarterback, meaning one of the 2 best quarterbacks in football for any given year, was over 50 years ago. So the city is going to be clamoring to see this kid play. And as soon as Andy Dalton, shows that he doesn't have it, which at some point in the season he'll inevitably show, the city is going to revolt against Matt Nagy if he doesn't put Justin Fields in the game for good and let him ride out the start of his career with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
I think there's time for Trey Lance to work up, because if Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy, I really see it like a Mahomes and Alex Smith type of situation, where, it's 1 year and Trey Lance takes the keys, because we know that with Jimmy Garoppolo, the San Francisco 49ers can contend for a Super Bowl if all goes right.
Right.
So the Chicago Bears can't contend for a Super Bowl with Andy Dalton, no matter how perfect he plays, no matter how many balls bounce the right way for them. So I think we see Justin Fields at a sooner point than Trey Lance. Although I would like to see both of them start week 1, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, me too. Lamar, what do you think? Which one of those goes first?
I think Fields go first as well. Dalton, he's talking like his time is now, so he's talking big in the media. So let's see if he gonna play big. But yeah, I see Justin Fields in about week 4.
Yeah, I kind of think it's going to be earlier. I mean, we've all seen what Dalton can do, honestly. Like, I don't think there's going to be any surprises. He's not going to come out and be better than he's been. He had a chance. He had his chance, I think, with the Cowboys to play, got his time, and didn't do anything with it. I mean, we know who he is. So, to me, if you don't get Fields in there right away, if you're Chicago, you're kind of messing up, because you got, like you said, you got the guy that they've wanted forever. They got a city that's waiting for it. And when you see the guy play like he did last week, it's going to be hard pressed to get people to not want him in now. There's no reason.
No, it's not a small market city. We're not talking about the Colts and their long wait. You know, it wasn't a long wait, but their wait between Andrew Luck and Carson Wentz, where, you know, they were shuffling between the Jacoby Brissetts of the world. You know, the public pressure in a Midwestern city like that, you know, loves basketball maybe as much as they love their football team, and loves IndyCar racing. You know, not that that's an aside to how much they care about their football, but we're talking about Chicago, Illinois, one of the top 4 markets in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this is the guy that they've been waiting for. This is their Anthony Rizzo. This is their Michael Jordan, now donning a Bears uniform. They're going to want to see this dude play. And as soon as Andy Dalton coughs it up, it has to be Justin Fields' team.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the rookies. Now, I posed this question, and then I want to get into another one. But I was reading, and I posed this question in an article today. We have 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, which we know are legit. We got Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and give me the 4th guy.
Josh.
Who? Mahomes. But that's what's funny. That's why I know.
I was hoping Paul would bite. I knew it was Mahomes.
No. See, that was kind of my reasoning, though. Is because after that, who do you got? And even at that point right there of number 4, you can kind of make a case for somebody to get there. Who are the top 5 quarterbacks? We know who those guys are, but who's number 5? Who's that guy who's sneaking up? Who's that one who's coming up? Because you could put Lamar Jackson, you could put Tannehill, you could put Josh Allen. I mean, we have choices for that number 5. So real quick before we go, who would you put as the number 5 in that top 5 quarterback?
All right, so I'm going to rebuke what you just said, because you definitely can't put Tannehill there.
No.
But I'm going to go with Josh Allen, just because I don't want to say Deshaun Watson at this point, because I'm not sure the next time he's going to be playing professional football. But if I was assured that he was going to be on the field, everything aside, I would say Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but that's my fault. Yeah, I have to leave him out of there because we don't know.
I understand. So
you're perfectly right, though.
Right. If Deshaun's playing, it's him. But if not, then I'm going to go Josh Allen, just because I like the trajectory he's on, and I really like the fact that Brian Daboll stayed around. To me, him getting to keep his offensive coordinator. I've said this when Josh Allen broke out last year, you know, just being an Eagles fan, is Carson Wentz, like 2017, what I thought Carson Wentz would develop into, because, you know, you still think that your second-year quarterback's
right.
I thought what Josh Allen was last year was what I envisioned Carson Wentz inevitably looking like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we lose Frank Reich to become the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. His coach now. We'll see if that actually is the difference. I think Brian Daboll, Josh Allen's offensive coordinator on the Bills, not taking a head coaching job is so crucial now for this year 3 to 4 development for Josh, because he took a mountainous leap between years 2 and 3, and he doesn't. And he has that security of Daboll coming back. And a team that's built around him. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders to give themselves a better number 2 option, making Cole Beasley the best number 3 option in football. And he's already the second best slot receiver in football, in my opinion, or at least based off of last year's numbers. So right. Josh Allen's poised to have a huge year. He's going to be a fantasy leader. And by the end of this year, he'll be talked about as a top 5 quarterback and a top 3 quarterback of the next generation. When we think about, Manning, Brady, Rodgers from this past generation, moving forward, it's Mahomes, Allen, and blank.
So Lamar, he said Allen, but what's wrong with Jackson? Why isn't he in this
Yeah,
conversation?
Lamar. Tell us about Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar. Tell us about Lamar.
I think is even though he got better at throwing down the field and stuff, I still think that probably handicaps him from being in the top 5 because nobody can do running. He's improved at the thrower, but I think his next step to improving to get into the top 5, he got to start hitting those outside receivers more. Because if you watch him play, everything is to the tight ends and towards the middle of the field. He got to get better at throwing outside the numbers in order to take that next step.
Has he ever had somebody to throw on that outside like that, though?
I mean, he got some talent out there. You got
I mean, it seems to me he's always been a little short, though, on that receiving side. I know he's had some good receiving.
He ain't had the talent that everybody, the other quarterbacks got, but I mean,
Right.
some out there.
Andrews, Mark Andrews is a great receiving option, and Lamar would have really struggled had he not had Mark Andrews and for his career at this point. But that doesn't really give you the outside the numbers option. You always talk about in any sport is like when you put pieces around a certain player, now it's that player's chance to prove if they're the guy, right? That's what the Browns did with Baker Mayfield. Okay, this team is so stacked. Go show us that you're the guy, because if we're not going to get past X benchmark, then it's probably on you because we did everything to help you. That's now where the Ravens are at with Lamar Jackson, because they gave them, they drafted Rashad Bateman. They signed, why can't I think of his name? Sammy Watkins. And, now it's on Lamar. It's like, all right, it's your time. We got you these guys. We put these dudes around you. So now it's your turn to show up. Or maybe we're going to have to think twice about the contract that's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
The receivers sound nice, but he need a big receiver that can go get the ball and not just relying on speed, because he ain't as accurate. He need a receiver with a bigger catch radius.
Well, hopefully Bateman can provide a little bit of that for him, because even if he doesn't have like elite size for a possession receiver, if you will, he is more of a possession receiver.
So those are a few guys. And by the way, why not Tannehill? Come on. Why not
top
Tannehill?
5, Paul? Like,
why not?
You can like if we're talking about like top 8, sure, he's a fringe top 8. But you're talking about top 5. Like there's no Titans bias here in this podcast. We don't have to lie to ourselves.
I don't even think he top 15, but that he got the team around him. He got the team around him to make him look like a top 10 top quarterback, because he got 2 awesome receivers and a pro running back. So
the man throws touchdowns.
Like, oh yeah,
I mean, I seen it. I seen them numbers in the playoffs a couple of years ago when he couldn't complete a pass. They wouldn't let him throw the ball down the field. I'm like, there ain't can't be top 5 playing like that.
No, I got you. But
top 5 quarterback list. Who do we got? We got Kirk Cousins.
Damn, I forgot about him. All right. 5.5, Kirk Cousins. With that team that he has around him this year, though, he may not, let's say he's not now. All right, I'll give you that 100%. Let's say not top 5 right now. But with that team that he has now, with those 2 receivers that he's got now, and that running back, and let's face it, that team, that's a good team. Can he be a top 5 by the end of the season?
In stats, yeah, but still ain't gonna. I don't care if he throw for 5,000 yards. He ain't no top 5 to me.
I don't think those top 4 are changing. So,
all right,
as long as if Josh Allen has a precipitous drop off, sure, Lamar can get there. But I don't think that at the end of this year, seeing where these teams are at, and we already have one playoff head-to-head victory, Allen over Lamar. I'm not sure if there's a bunch of teams who would want Lamar's skill set over Josh Allen's if they were starting their franchise and had the choice of the two, just based on the fact that Allen can put the ball in its place better and carry out the duties of a quarterback more effectively. Lamar's an incredible athlete, an electric talent, but he's not a polished quarterback. Like, there's a difference between a fighter and a boxer. Boxing is a certain skill. So is quarterbacking. Like, is Mac Jones an athlete? No, but is he a better quarterback than Lamar? As far as like a quarterback's perspective of ball placement, pocket presence, stuff like that, yes, Mac Jones is a better quarterback at quarterbacking, but Lamar's a better overall quarterback because of what he can do outside of the quarterbacking. I don't know, that kind of got jumbled up, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and we agree on those top four. So let's get to those top four just for a minute. How long can Tom Brady keep this up? Like, will they go back to the bowl again? Can they do back-to-back?
I think they can do back-to-back. Not saying that they will. I do expect them to at least be in the NFC Championship game, whether that be against the Rams or the Packers.
Who is it? Is it the Rams? Is it who's their toughest? Who's their main competitor right now?
I think the Packers are still their main competitor because while Aaron Rodgers doesn't want this to be considered a revenge tour, I think in his mind he loves to hold little petty gripes. I don't know if it actually serves as motivation for him like it did Michael Jordan, but he loves to hold these little petty gripes because he is a bit of a diva. And, he hasn't been afforded the things that some high-profile quarterbacks have been afforded. So maybe he has sort of a right to these diva-ish ways, but that's besides the point. I think that they're still the best competition for the Bucs because I think Aaron Rodgers is still the best quarterback in the conference along with Tom Brady, and he has a pretty darn good team around him. He has the best or second best receiver in football, no matter or whichever way you want to look at it, along with DeAndre Hopkins. He has, a better built-in core around him. And now it's his third year in a system that he felt very comfortable in last year. The Packers in 2 years with Matt LaFleur are 26-6 in the regular season. It's pretty darn good. And they've been in the NFC Championship game both years. Now,
and it was a bad call. That there's a bad call last year. I mean, that whole field goal thing
can happen to anybody. But, Rodgers, I think Rodgers sees this as this is my last year with the Packers, even though I think that he's going to give the Packers a realistic opportunity maybe to swoon him the services, right? Mm-hmm. So, but I think he's going into it like, this is my last year. Let's get this done. He posted him and, Devontae Adams, they posted that last dance picture on their Instagram stories. Yeah. Well, why can't it be like that? Why can't they get back to that NFC Championship game and right the wrong of last year? Right. Get to the Super Bowl, see who you face in the Super Bowl. Will it be Mahomes? Will it be Allen? Will it be Baker? Will it be Lamar? Right. I'm assuming it'll be one of those four. Can Rodgers get it done and then move on into happier pastures? That's the storyline. That's the narrative that's going to swarm this entire NFL year. And you guys know Aaron Rodgers is my favorite player, the guy who got me into football. I should be wearing an Aaron Rodgers shirt right now, but I'll do it next week, darn it. I'm ready for Aaron Rodgers to bring this boy home.
Okay,
Packers are going to be Super Bowl champions. I'm stamping it right now. Wednesday, August 18th. Packers, Super Bowl 56 champions from SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles, California.
All right. So Lamar, will Tom Brady be the one to stop that dream, that thing that Rodgers got going on like he seems to always do with these quarterbacks? Can Tom still do it?
Yeah, he will still do it. He got a cakewalk in his division with Drew Brees gone.
True.
I think he's the only team that's going to compete with him, be the Packers or the Rams. I'm pulling for
Don't sleep on Sammy Darnold. What are you doing?
I'm pulling for the Rams though, because the Packers always
top five quarterback.
Packers always come up short in the playoff. They don't. It's always key situations they mess up. Like you can't give up that bomb for a touchdown right before halftime.
Yeah.
And no, you gotta go for that. You gotta go for that fourth down and goal in a NFC Championship game. You can't settle for a field goal. The Rams, I like the Rams. The Rams defense is going to come down to, can they score enough points? Stafford.
I think that's what you're going to see this year from that side. I think it's going to be hell to try to stop that Los Angeles Rams offense. Stafford had those incredible numbers that he had with the team that was, come on, not a great team. right? So now he's got all these pieces. We're going to find out if he's truly that great quarterback, if this puts him into a category of the greats, or if he is who he was and it wasn't the team. Maybe it was him. But I got a feeling that the LA Rams offense is going to be one of those dynamic offenses that's going to be really hard to stop this year. As far as Tom Brady goes, I'm never going to count him out ever. I've done it too many times in my life and been beat by him too many times, counting him out, thinking that he's done. I think that man's going to go as long as he ever wants to. I think he's probably a robot. I think we're going to find out somewhere he was hooked up with machine parts that we don't know about, because he's just that crazy good. Aaron Rodgers, I think if you get him into the playoffs this year, which I don't see any way he won't make it to the playoffs, but I think you get Rodgers in the playoffs this year, and for every reason you said, Liam, I think he's going to be hard to beat. It'll come down to maybe him and Brady in that game, and that's going to be one of those epic battles, because
I'll tell you what,
Rodgers will be determined.
Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs this year, when that call comes in that says, "Oh, we're going to kick the field goal," and Tom Brady, I'll tell you what, Aaron Rodgers is audibling out of it this year. He's audibling out of it this year.
If it even looks like it's coming close to that situation, I don't think he even looks to the sidelines. He's going to take it on himself to do what he wants to do at that moment. Nobody's going to have an opportunity to do anything other. So you're right there for sure. There was another kind of since we got quarterbacks out of the way, let's get into an ex-quarterback real quick, because the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars, just got rid of Mr. Tim Tebow, once again out of football. You're dancing there, Liam. I mean, come on, this is Tebow.
Yeah, I don't care that it's Tebow, and I also don't care that you live in Jacksonville and he's considered freaking Southern Jesus in that city. You know, it's his hometown. It's his hometown team. It's close enough to where he played college football, where he was the most iconic college football player.
40 minutes, man. 40 minutes.
Yeah.
40 minutes away.
Something like that. Either way, it's good that he's gone, because he didn't deserve that spot in the first place. Somebody else did. He took a willing opportunity away from a tight end that actually deserved a spot to make an NFL roster. And the more I think about it, like, yes, I'm upset that Tebow even tried to, call Urban Meyer and undertake this sort of position change 9 years after you're out of the NFL. It was just selfish to think that you could actually make the NFL roster under cronyism or nepotism, whatever really you want to call it. But this is also on fault to Urban Meyer and Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, and management, who really, swung this into motion, because there was no way for him to succeed. Clearly, there's 7, tight ends on the Jaguars roster, and he was the only one cut after first round of cuts, meaning that he was viewed as the 7th best of all the tight ends. Why put Tim Tebow, somebody who's such a national figure for sports, especially in that city particularly, why would you put him in that sort of situation? Urban Meyer, if he was coaching any team, any other of the 31 other teams, he would have given Tebow that opportunity. But the fact that he was spotlighted and gaslighted to a certain extent in Jacksonville specifically just doesn't sit well with me. And I wasn't even a fan of Tebow and the move to do this in the first place. I just think that he was wronged and he was publicly humiliated. Even if he doesn't view it as that way, I think that's what it comes across as, because now he's just been, drugged through the mud for so long, thinking that he could play baseball and come back and position change and play football. Proven he can't. He has laughing stock videos going around Twitter, whether they're warranted or not. And Urban Meyer just put him in a bad situation. And
right.
And I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that.
Lamar, speaking of that, what did you think of that block, man?
Oh, some horrible blocking.
Is that what did it for him? Do you think that was like that cherry on top when that video started?
They blasting all that on ESPN. Yeah, that was some people criticizing it.
Why wasn't Lamar tight end 7 for the Jacksonville Jaguars? He could have made that block. He could have chipped that block a little better. And you know what? He wouldn't have tried to feint into the second level of the defense on that other play that they were showing where the end that he was supposed to block actually tackled the running back with the ball and busted the play up before the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he
Come on.
was so lost.
Why to be tight end?
Man.
Give Urban Meyer a
just-
call. He takes people in right away.
Yeah.
Clearly.
It almost looked like he just woke up one morning. Oh, I'm gonna go play tight end. You can't do that, man. It takes skill and time
There's
to.
nuance to that
Yeah.
position. You have to block people.
Yeah,
You have to run routes and catch footballs and then worry about blocking people.
even in camp, he really didn't have that great of a camp either. I mean, every day you get those reports coming out about him, still not getting the position.
I'm sure that
catching the ball,
the
so.
team loved him in the locker room, but you can only dress 46 dudes on game day. Each of those jerseys that are on the field, they count. Like each of those dudes count. They have to serve a purpose for the team. He wasn't even contributing on special teams. How can you not contribute on special teams if you're not playing a crucial package on either offense or defense?
Yeah, I mean I believe you. I believe that Urban got a call from somebody, whether it be him, whether it be his representation or something, and said, "Let's do this." And I'm sure Khan went ahead with it because he's more of a showman than he is a football guy. I don't think he knows a whole lot about football. You hear him talk. I hear him talk all the time because he's always on here being interviewed for some reason. But he just really doesn't have the knowledge for football, but he's a show guy and he wants to do things to promote. So I think the whole idea of Tebow back in his old neighborhood, which he literally only, went to school not too far even from the stadium there. So I just think it was part of that, bringing him back, giving that whole routine of here you go, fans, here's something for the preseason. But I don't think anywhere that it was serious. So that again would lead to what you said about, man, did you just give that up to somebody then? We see all these guys, how hard they work, man. And in the NFL for football, there's not a whole lot of places to go. At least basketball players, they can go, overseas. They can do G League. They can do all these other things, these tournaments, the stuff that they have. But football, man, it's hard. So you only get so many shots, so many places. Yeah. And so it's kind of sad in that respect. I hope it didn't do. I mean, if you're correct, I didn't know they had 7 on the roster. So, I mean, if that's correct, then, maybe it wasn't a tight end position he took, because if they had 7, maybe they needed another receiver that he took the spot of. Maybe it was a running back, a lineman. So it was a spot that probably should have gone to somebody else. So that's bad, but I think he needs to stay in commentating.
Yeah.
I thought he's decent at that.
Yes.
He's decent at it. I think he can get better, same as all those guys do once they do it for a year or two. They all start getting better. I think that's where he needs to go. I don't know about doing anything else. I think his sporting days have passed him by, unfortunately for him.
I sure hope so.
Lamar, what do you think of Tebow?
Yeah, I need to go back to the booth and stay there. No more playing baseball. No more football. It's over, man.
Yeah.
Just stick to commentating. Something you can be good at.
Next thing we hear is bobsledding in the Olympics, right?
Yeah. Basketball. Power forward.
I heard the Lakers need a backup point guard.
Hey, Orlando could use a big man. Okay. That was for you, Liam, because we didn't need the little guy,
Sixers need a shooter for sure.
Just off the top there, what do you think is going to happen with Ben real quick? I mean, do you think he's just going to stay in Philly?
Daryl Morey
this year?
is the best GM in basketball, in my opinion, and he's not going to get fleeced. I trust everything that he has done, and I trust everything he will do. I don't care what Ben wants or thinks at this point, because I would literally go 0-82. I would go 0-82 if it meant I'm getting Damian Lillard next summer. I would. So I don't care. I don't know what's going to happen with Ben. If my gut feeling tells me we have him through training camp, I don't know if we're going to have him into the season or whatnot. But Daryl Morey's not going to make a bad trade. he's not going to give away Ben for what he thinks is undervalued.
Right.
So-
But right now it's not that. It's him asking for too much. But I'm with you. I don't see him being there past the trade deadline of next year. I think that might
once the trade deadline rolls around, either Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard, I assume one of the two, if not both, is going to want out, right? Like Dame's going to give Chauncey and the remake of a roster a chance. Cody Zeller and really big.
I don't see that.
Really huge name, Cody Zeller and Tony Snell. So that Blazers team looking really, really great,
top notch, all-star.
I'm sure Dame is really happy with Neil Olshey, and we'll see in February how he's feeling about staying in Portland, because I've had envisions now. Since you've known me, Paul, I've been talking about Dame to the Sixers.
Yeah,
I started this train. I'll say it however many times. He will be a Sixer.
I'm here to tell you, he was dreaming before we all thought it was possible. Lamar, what do you think? Does Ben stay around?
It's gonna be a mess. They can't. Ben Simmons can't come back to the Sixers next year after all this stuff going off season. They're gonna get forced. I mean, they can hold on to him. He ain't gonna want to play there. I mean, they're gonna have to trade him before the season somehow.
That's true. It's gonna be interesting anyway.
And these teams gonna wait it out until Morey gonna have to cave.
Till he lowers that price tag down.
He's gonna have to cave. Unless you're gonna go kiss Ben Simmons' feet. Oh, sorry, man, we want you back, because ain't no way after all this stuff is too much. He's not answering their phone calls and stuff.
But come on, didn't you see all those threes he's been hitting this offseason?
Oh man, I saw that 2 years ago too.
Let's not talk about the stupid workout videos.
Yeah, we saw that 2 years ago too.
I'm so sick of the stupid
I love those
workout videos.
I love those, man. Those are great. Those are the greatest things when people, oh my God, look, he hit 10 in a row. Yeah, I hope so.
How many Sixers games I've been to over the past 5 years? I promise you, in warmups, I've watched him hit 8 in a row. I swear to God, I've watched him hit 8 in a row.
Oh,
yeah,
me too.
How many jump shots he shot that game? 0!
Yeah, 0. Hey, by the way, don't you love the pregame when they do their little soccer thing with the ball? I love that. Joel Embiid, he always does a soccer thing with the basketball. Anyways, okay, guys, man, but that was great. I love the NFL. I want to do the last word, though, tonight, because I got one that I got to hit off. But let's start off, man, with Liam. You got a last word for us today, man?
Yep. Joel Embiid, 4 years, $196 million, a nice little smooth $49 million a year average to play the game of basketball for the best center in the NBA. There might be a guy who plays for that team that is on the hat that my good old pal Paul is donning. He may be a reigning MVP. He's not better than Joel Embiid. He's not better than the $49 million man. Thank you, Daryl Morey, for getting this done, because a year ago with Elton Brand, before Daryl Morey signed on, this would have been a pipe dream, as he would have been shuffling the decks to really try and maximize how he thought he could Joel Embiid, which obviously wasn't the right way to do so. And Daryl Morey has a much cleaner outlook. And especially with what's been going on with the Ben Simmons, whole deterioration, you don't want to alienate your one true superstar. Anytime you have a top 10 player, top 5, 6 talent in the NBA, you want to make sure that dude's locked up as long as you can. Paul, I'm sure you feel that way about Jokic. It's the way that the Lakers feel about LeBron, the way the Nets feel about KD, how the Rockets felt about Harden before he inevitably went to Brooklyn, Giannis, Dame, so on. When you have a player of that sort of ilk and caliber, getting them locked up long term is so crucial, especially when you don't have all the avenues figured out moving forward, which the Sixers certainly do not. So it was a huge move to get it done, because it wasn't really expected with 2 years left on his deal. He could have commanded a 5-year deal at 200 and 5-year, 258, 60 something million next year after the next cap spike. And he got it done this year to save a little bit of money on the cap space moving forward, and to see what Daryl Morey can do because he knows what Daryl Morey tried to do for James Harden in Houston. He knows that he's going to try and put the best pieces around Joel. And we all know Joel Embiid and his injury history. By the end of this contract, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it's before the end of this contract, his career is probably cooked. So the Sixers have 6 years max to win a championship. And this is one big step towards doing so because you got Joel Embiid locked down. It was a great day to be a Sixers fan, and I get to keep this jersey.
Hey, I agree. Yeah, he deserved it. He's a great player. He could have very well got way more than he got. So I think that was a great deal all the way around. And it showed how much he liked the Philadelphia team, the area, everything. So, Lamar.
I can't wait to keep on rooting for him.
I agree. Lamar?
Shout out to Davion Mitchell from the Kings in the summer league. He was playing defense like in the 90s again. It was pretty cool watching him play defense like that.
Yeah, it was.
I want to see if it carries over to the NBA season. That'd be cool. So somebody actually play defense the way he was playing on ball defense. You could tell he'd take defense to heart. And also excited to watch college football next weekend.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Oh, love that game. Love the game of college football. Man.
Don't forget, Davion Mitchell, Summer League champion, Sacramento Kings. He played a huge role in, a very unexpected run because I don't think the Kings were really highly touted to do well in this tournament. So shout out to him. He really locked up Peyton Pritchard, who was having a great summer league, who had a great Portland Pro-Am last week too, dropping 92 points.
Yeah, so, and they have a good defensive team, and if he does that and can produce that from others as well, that team has a really good chance of being a great defensive team.
Yeah, that was a good call, Lamar, because Davion Mitchell really played real well.
Right.
one of the top 3 rookies along with Cade and Jalen Green, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I'm going to go. My last word is on the Malice at the Palace. I finally watched it. I had been hearing all about it and hearing about how the narrative has changed, and we needed to see this so that we could see the other side. But when I watched it, all I saw was the same thing I seen when I watched it the day it happened. You can try to change the narratives all you want to. The fact of the matter is, you did not have to go into the stands, period. Especially Jackson, who sat there and told you to the camera, to his face. He went because he wanted to. He went up there to help his brothers, okay? He did not have to. In fact, if he was going up there to help them, he could have tried to restrain them. There was a lot of Pistons who actually did that, okay? That's why their whole punishment was far less. So that really irritated me that these guys tried to take this and tried to flip it and put this back upon the owners, because that whole thing was geared toward it being the fans' fault. It was the guy who threw the bottle. The guy who threw the bottle. Yes, the guy who threw the bottle was a scumbag. All right. He shouldn't be in any arena. He shouldn't be allowed back in there. And he probably should have got arrested, which he did, and paid the price. But that did not mean that he could get up and run into the stands. It did not mean that they can all go through that. Now, some of that stuff after it happened, I'm all for it. The guy on the ground who came with the little skip and went, Ron Artest hit, that was fine. You don't know what you're doing. The guy coming up to you, skipping you on the floor, you got to hit him. You know what I'm saying? So some of that stuff, but that whole initial part where the bottle hit him, and then from there, they tried to make this whole thing be, that is why it happened. That is what happened. Even the DA, which they didn't even get into the part where we all know from reports back in that time that the NBA and that prosecuted department had a deal. Okay, the NBA was going to be the harsh part about it, which was going to take care of it. That was going to save the NBA and the Pistons, because that team and that city needed those Pistons, especially the history, the way they were playing at that time. The NBA could not afford that. All right, that could have been. We all know. So it didn't even get into those kind of things that went on with that. And to me, it was trying to flip a script, and it just really irritated me. So for me, I'm saying what I saw was what it was. Everybody who was there got what they deserved out of it from the NBA standpoint. The fans who all got in their trouble got what they deserved. I didn't see anything to change my mind. So to me, Jackson, you're wrong. You are low. You're low for what you did, and that's where I'm going to leave that. So.
I think it's important to note that this was the Untold docu-series on, what is it? It's Netflix, right?
It's Netflix.
On,
Yes.
on Netflix. It's it's the
You're
first
right.
installment in a 5-part docu-series called Untold. The Malice at the Palace. And Paul, I'm not going to discredit anything you said, because I do think that all player penalties were warranted, and I do think the penalties that were inflicted upon the fans, whether it be through the Palace of Auburn Hills, or the Detroit Police Department, I assume. I think all of those were fair and liable. What I do tend to agree with was the fact that there was very little security presence, which was truly peculiar. I didn't see a lot of security guards try to break things up, which I do think that if there was a little like whoa, hold me back, sort of like things that we see nowadays where we try not to let group tensions escalate like that. Maybe it wouldn't have gotten to the point where it did. But the fact of the matter is, you're dealing with a notorious hothead who had a very rough time handling his emotions, and you have to be, cognizant and respectful of his mental state and what he was going through from a mental health standpoint throughout his career. And was it an unfortunate situation? Yes. But I think that I understand why you think that might be trying to quote unquote turn the narrative. But I don't think the point of the documentary was to turn the narrative. I think the point of the documentary was for Reggie Miller and Steven Jackson and Ron Artest and Jermaine O'Neal, for those guys to kind of share their piece about everything. Because you have to think, in team sports, the locker room dynamic is a very, very important thing. Obviously, we all grew up around team sports. We covered team sports. We know what that's like. So I think it was very crucial to hear what it was like for how Jermaine and Ron, their, sort of contentious relationship, and how Steven Jackson, when he was brought in, he felt the need to, to have his brother's back. Right. Reggie Miller, he thought that this was his last chance really to get a title. They thought they were the best team in the league. This was game 10. What were they, 7?
It probably was.
And, they were going to be, they were 8-2 after that game because they were throttling the Pistons in that game as you had it. So, there's a lot of intricacies that went into the Malice at the Palace that I'm not sure the casual fans really knew. Because when you think of Malice at the Palace, you think of a bottle was thrown at Ron Artest, and Ron Artest went and started a mutant rampage on the fans. Well, that's not really actually what happened. And I think that this documentary gave you a little closer look at that. And I'm thankful that it did, because I learned more. I learned more about the situation because of it. And I'm a little bit more respectful of the situation at hand, because I saw it on surface level at one point too. And now I know a little bit more about it. And I don't think they were trying to flip any script. I think they were just trying to bring some light to a situation that not many people knew about.
Look, they sat there and literally at the end of that thing, each of them to a T, as it went to Reggie, as it went to them, the bottle. If he didn't throw the bottle, and they did it one after another. Yeah, they were trying to change the narrative. I mean, that whole thing was nothing about trying to change that narrative. And that's what I've even heard on social media over and over is, oh, well, I didn't know that. What didn't you know? Okay. He jumped into the stands when he was provoked, and then others ran after him. Okay. None of that had to take place. None of it. Okay. I mean, I agree. Again, the fan, all that was full whatever. They needed to be tossed out. They should have been. And yes, you were also right. They said there were three policemen on the floor. We know that can't happen. And we know, like today, there are security now covers the court, right? Every time out there, they come and surround the court now. And it's all because of that day when they had 3 policemen out there to try to handle this. And that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to work. But
did you see the recent video run around from this past week's Rams preseason game of the fight that ensued in the stands there? Did you get the video? Well,
Yeah.
you know, on principle, you know, you said Reggie Miller is like, if that fan hadn't thrown that bottle. Well, what about that stupid lady who threw that cup full of Coke at the fan? You know, she didn't even partake in any of the fighting. She threw it. She turned around. She's like, "Oh, me," and she walked away. Well,
That's
what if she
chicken
hadn't
shit.
thrown that cup? Then this dude wouldn't have gotten his ass kicked because he freaking backslapped a whole entire row of fans.
That was great.
So yes, you know, actions have consequences, and I'm glad that they found that fan that threw the bottle because he did have, you know, the real initial spark plug in the situation.
Yeah.
Like I hope the Rams find that lady who threw that cup because she started that whole thing and then didn't even get her feet wet in it. She just walked away from it.
Nope,
One of the
nope.
most cowardly things I had ever seen, just like the Malice at the Palace was one of the most cowardly things I've ever seen. And we need to
100%.
stop this. We need to stop fan abuse on players. These dudes are people. I don't care. I don't care how much I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Do you guys watch Hard Knocks? It humanizes these football players because
100%.
they're human, and they always will be. And I don't care what kind of money we pay for our seats, and I don't care what kind of money these people get paid. You can ruin anybody's day by doing anything as slight as that. You don't know the temperament of the person you're working with. You don't know the mental health state of the person you're working with. You don't know the family crisis that may be going on in anybody else's life that you take into account when you throw that bottle, when you spit on somebody, when you throw that cup. So just stop.
Yeah, true. You know why I hate Hard Knocks? Because it does that. I mean, I don't want to like Dallas, and I'm liking Dak Prescott. I'm liking Zeke after watching this, and
I'm an Eagles fan. I love Dak Prescott as a man and as a football player. I don't have to like the jersey that he wears, but I like Dak Prescott.
That's it. I've always said that there's a difference between the player and the man. I don't like a lot of the players, but I like the man, and they're getting me on this one. And it happens to me every season I watch this. I end up going, oh man, I like that guy. That guy's all right. So yeah, but real quick, Lamar, what do you think about the Malice in the Palace?
Could have been avoidable, but I mean, you can't throw stuff at people and think you don't get a reaction. I don't care how much they're a football player, whatever they are. Because your instinct is going to be the fight. I don't care who you are. It's hard for everybody to be the bigger man and turn the other cheek. But
yeah,
and especially how unstable Ron Artest was at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had forgotten about the other stuff about how he left the team and talking about he wanted to go do his rap album. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
It was
the other part of that I found interesting was how him winning that championship, how much that really hurt some of the others, because I could see that, he took off on them in a time when they were supposed to win it, and then he goes off and gets one, and they're left with nothing but the memories of that night. So
and it's like it was mind-boggling me that was only like 2 or 3 policemen on site.
Yeah.
And somebody had to call 911 to get him to we're
crazy.
Security just bailed out and just say, oh, hell with this, I'm out of here.
It was Detroit. They probably did. All right, guys, man. Well, that was great, and I loved it as always, and that was preseason. Is all we got to get into. We're going to get into more because now the players will be playing more time. We'll get to see more of the guys we want to see. So next week we'll do it again, and we'll talk some more football. So thank you guys for coming, man. I appreciate it.